This is a floor plan for a very large housing project that I worked on a few years ago. You can see that each one of these blocks here, that's a tall tower with somewhere between 6 and 10 units per floor. And there are 9 of those towers. And this floor plan is for a lower level that has parking. And you can see the parking stalls are all drawn with these yellow shapes here. You can see these small squares in between. Those are the columns that are supporting the parking structure. And there are some elevators that serve the parking and some stairs and things that serve the parking, as well as these towers. You can see the towers are rotated at an angle. And you can see that the majority of the site in this area across here is running left to right, or what we would call ortho, or aligned with the X and the Y axis. But this part of the project over here is working at a different angle. And a lot of times when we're working, we're using move commands or copy commands, or we're trying to draw lines, and we're using ortho, and we can really benefit when our X and Y axis, or our ortho, is aligned to the direction that we're working in. So on a project like this, when we're working in this area, we had no problems, but when we needed to work in this area, what we would do is we would create a new ortho, or a new XY axis and orientation, and that is called the UCS. And the UCS is that definition of where 0, 0 is and what direction the X and Y and also Z axes are working in. And UCS stands for Universal Coordinate System. And we can create additional UCSs and give them names and save them and change them around. The original UCS, or the base one, or the bare bones bottom original one that you can never change or get rid of, is called world. That's just the name of it. We're going to create a new one, and we're going to call it, I don't know, RO for rotated. And that would be the one that would work at this angle here. So to create a new UCS, I actually type the command UCS, and then it's asking me down here, specify the origin. And let's say my origin is going to be here. You can see it develops a new little XY icon there. And then the next thing it's saying is specify a point on the X-axis. So if I want my XY axis to be going in this direction, I would put my X-axis off to the diagonal right over here. And then it says specify a point on the XY plane. So we're going to just click in the Y direction, but what that would or could allow us to do is to create a UCS that is tilted somehow in three-dimensional space. But we're going to just work in a flat plan view. And so I'm going to click my second click here. And so now you can see that my UCS icon over here in the bottom left corner has been rotated, and X and Y are rotated at an angle. There's another little trick that you can try, and that's called UCS icon. And that command will allow us to put the UCS icon in the corner of the screen, no matter where I pan around to. Or it will place that UCS icon at the origin. So if I type UCS icon, press enter, and then click here on origin, now that UCS icon is always going to be here on the origin. And if I were to pan off to the side, the UCS icon would not be visible because it's fixed to this location. So now I'm going to give this new UCS that I've created a name. So I'm going to type UCS and then S for save, and I'm going to give it the name of RO for rotated, or I could maybe call it RO1, or I could call it any name that I wanted. Press enter. Now I've created a coordinate system that's rotated at this angle, and so if I were to do L for line and I have my ortho on, you can see that it is drawing in the X direction, which is parallel to all the lines in this area of the project. And I could type in a number like 10,000. This drawing is in metric millimeters, so that line there is 10 meters long. And you can see it's working in that direction. if I wanted to rotate the way that I'm seeing this on the screen, there's another command for that, and it's called plan. And I can type the word plan and enter. And now you can see I have some choices here. Here's that world that we're familiar with, and that's the one that we're in right now. I can also click here on current UCS, and if I click there, you can see that now the whole drawing has been rotated. We'll actually check that because none of the items have been rotated. Only the way that we're looking at it has been rotated. And if I go back to that area where I was working, you can see that my XY icon is now running left and right with what we're seeing on the screen. But do keep in mind, we didn't rotate the actual elements. We're just moving the way that we're looking at the drawing. So let's say I want to put this all back the way it was. I've got to do two things. The first one is reset my UCS to world, or W for world, or I can click here on the word world and enter. And then I've got to reset the way that I'm looking at the drawing, and I can do that by typing plan and then enter, and then again I have here the choice of world. And when I do that, everything comes back to normal. So if you are ever working on a drawing where a majority of it is at a different angle, this might make things a lot easier.